WION has learned that the Indian Armed Forces are preparing aggressively to stop Pakistani terrorists from carrying out infiltrations over the summer. The forces are stepping up border vigil exercises. In fact, commanding officers have been empowered to decide at their level itself to retaliate against Pakistani efforts to push in terrorists whenever necessary. Sources say 20 Pakistan Army soldiers were killed in Indian action on the border last month alone. Last year, a total of 138 Pakistanis were killed in such action. Aware of the heightened vigilance on the Indian side of the LOC, the Pakistanis and their top commanders have been visiting the line of control at an increased frequency. The Indian Army is already carrying out punitive gunfire and other action opposite Balnoi, Kalal, Mehndar and Keren sectors in Jammu and Kashmir. So that's the story that WION has brought to you. The latest as far as India's retaliatory action toward Pakistan goes. We've learned that Indian Armed Forces are preparing aggressively to put an end to Pakistani terrorists carrying out infiltration bids over the summer. They're stepping up border vigil exercises, and commanding officers have now been given the power to decide at their level itself whether or not to retaliate against Pakistani efforts to push in terrorists across the LOC. Joining me on the broadcast right now is WION senior editor Surya Gangadharan. Surya, good evening. We keep talking about India's need to perhaps do proactive measures rather than reactive measures. Do you think that explains in some ways this new aggressive Indian strategy?
Well, the aggressive strategy has been evident for some time, including last year when there was a surgical strike. In that sense, the army has perhaps been given a kind of greater leeway in terms of responding to infiltration from across the LOC. And perhaps greater leeway in terms of responding to actions here by taking out or targeting Pakistan Army positions across the LC. So in that sense, the aggression is there, and no infantry battalion commander would want to be seen to be defensive when it comes to taking on terrorists from across the border. Right, and the numbers that we're looking at right now say 20 in the last month alone, 138 casualties carried out by the Indian Armed Forces last year against Pakistan. That's a large number, Surya. How exactly do forces on the other side go about hiding the fact that these number of casualties have taken place? Well, the Pakistani military is the one that releases the figures of those killed or injured. And they can be selective about it. It's been done before in the past. And the Pak military generally doesn't want to give the indication that to its own people that it has lost so many men in the firefight with India. It affects morale, and it has other issues. And more than anything else, the Pak army would not like to give the impression that it is losing the psychological dominance that it has sometimes enjoyed on the line of control. So there are various narratives that had to be conveyed to its own population. So in that sense, it makes sense for them to control the narrative. Right. Surya, thank you for joining us with that perspective. Now, just yesterday, for our viewers, the Indian Army had said, remember, that there is a direct role that the Pakistani Army plays in these recent terror attacks. Listen in to what was said.
इनका नंबर्स कभी कम नहीं होता है. इनको ट्रेनिंग कैंप्स होते हैं और लंच पैड्स होते हैं जहां से उनको सीमा के अंदर पुश करते हैं. वो अगर साउथ ऑफ पीर पंजाल, नॉर्थ ऑफ पीर पंजाल लेते हैं तो तकरीबन साउथ ऑफ पीर पंजाल 185 टू 210 220 एंड नॉर्थ ऑफ पीर पंजाल 195 टू 220 रहते हैं हमेशा उनको आगे भेजने के लिए. एक बार उनको पुश कर दिया, उनको हमने एलिमिनेट भी कर दिया, तो और पीछे से लोग और आ जाते हैं इस कैंप में. सो ये कभी बहुत कम होता है, ऊपर नीचे 10-15 का होता है, लेकिन अराउंड 200 to 225 इज ऑलवेज देयर इन द बॉर्डर.